I'm here with another amazing entrepreneurial woman called Mary Abraham. I reached out to Mary because I saw her post on LinkedIn about NextGen Ventures, which Mary will tell us about. But I also texted her because we went to the same school, but 100 years apart. So, so there you go. So that was my sort of first realization that I wanted to talk to Mary. And obviously now we've worked out we've got all sorts of people in common, including the Ludus team, who I mentor at RMIT. So many synchronicities, Mary.
Yeah. Pretty cool though. Like what a small world.
So, Mary, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing now, and then we'll move on to talk about being a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, so my name's Mary. I'm currently in my fourth year of uni, so my honours year. And on the side, I'm working at a venture capital fund called NextGen Ventures, which is Australia's first student led venture capital fund. I'm an investment principal, so I do some investment work, meeting with startup founders that are students and hearing their story and trying to support them as much as we can, whether that's through capital or other means. And a part of that, I've started a program for student female founders. It's called Verge. It's launching, well, it's launched, but the whole program starts very shortly. And I guess a little bit background to that is what we notice is that around the 6 to 8 month mark, a lot of female founders would stop building and at a rate a lot higher than their male counterparts. So we wanted to solve a very specific problem in the ecosystem and not just like the broad gender gap, if that makes sense.
Why do you think that is actually? It's such an yeah, I hear you, and I'm curious about what your hypothesis is about that.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. One being a lot of the female student founders side is the lack of time, which I think is interesting because there could be a lot of things in play there in terms of like university. Like women tend to do better in university and it tends to be a lot of a bigger focus for them, and that maybe the male counterparts feel more comfortable pushing uni to the side, and so they can spend more time on their startup. I also think there's
Mm,
an element of perfectionism, like they want
mm.
to put as much time as they can into their startup, so they won't like continue while they've got uni. They want to do it once they graduate. But yeah, and it's very isolating being a student founder, which is exacerbated when you're female as well, because there's so few student founders that there are. A lot of them tend to be male, and so
Mm.
it's like a compounding effect.
Your hypothesis supports some of the stuff I know as well, which is about, you know, there's a lot of statistics around women not necessarily going for jobs if they don't have 95% of the criteria, because we believe that we need to have it near perfect. I see it with the founders that I coach that are men and the founders that I coach that are women. The men are very happy to wing it a bit more and go for it and just almost that sort of fuck it attitude. Whereas the female founders I coach are very mindful of getting it as close to right as possible. It's a similar story for women when they raise money. The traditional investment route is just go to your friends and family first. And we're just like, no, we don't want to do that. Like, we don't want to ask our friends and family for their hard earned cash. And it's not that we don't believe in what we're doing. Of course, we believe in it or we wouldn't be doing it. But we're also just very mindful of other people's security. Or
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. And even just talking about money is kind of awkward. Like, I struggle with that myself. When we were trying to get funding to launch Verge, in those meetings where I'm pitching the program, I found it really difficult to actually lead with the asking for money instead of just talking about the program. And it just comes with time. Like, you just gotta have to get over the awkwardness and start speaking about it.
yeah, there's bravado that is a word that is lacking in the female psyche. And I think we see it as fake, but it's not about being fake. It's about being just a bit more full of confidence, going into a meeting and saying, this is what my objective is or my intention is for the meeting, to explain to you that, at the end of the day, we want funding for this program, but let me start telling you about the program first. That's a nice way to attack something like that. And because you're doing something that has such a strong purpose, you can always fall back on that.
Yeah, that's what I like very much lent on, because when we were going to these organizations, they were quite mission aligned with us. which I found a lot easier than asking for money straight up.
We just don't grow up talking about money. We've got to have more bravado and be very more comfortable about talking about money. What are you actually studying at uni?
Yeah, a bit of a niche degree. It's called Global Challenges. So it's a science degree, but based on the idea that there's plenty of people with the scientific knowledge to solve global challenges, but not quite the soft skills. So on top of our science major, we look at things like entrepreneurship, for example.
Yeah, okay, great. And you're doing your honours year, and do you have a plan for, what you're thinking of doing after that?
I definitely want to stay in the startup ecosystem. I've fallen in love with it. I've done like corporate internships and stuff, but like it's the startup stuff that's stuck with me. So two options is one, go find a very early stage startup and go work for them, and two, work at a VC fund. But
Mm.
we'll see which one appeals a little bit
Well,
later.
you're already doing one.
Yeah, might be time to try the other.
You or just follow that path. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, let's start to talk about your own entrepreneurial experience. You said you love the ecosystem. Where did it start for you? Were you interested in starting businesses as a teenager?
It was not a straight, like, I want to start a business, but I was always interested in it. My dad's aunt was like a role model to me from a distance. She worked her way up. She was a door-to-door salesman and became a CEO. And I always thought that was like just fascinating because it takes like a certain amount of grit and determination to do that. Like,
Mm,
especially like our background, like I'm from India, and in her generation, a lot of women, they got married and then they would housewives, which I don't think there's anything wrong with inherently. But the fact that she was raised to do that, but she still found a way to like find something that she was good at, something she was passionate about, and then
mm.
work her way up, which I thought was amazing. And I mean, a part of it was that like she lives in Beverly Hills now, and I think that's very glamorous. And I wanted that. But
Oh my God, she could be a housewife.
yeah, she could.
A housewife of Beverly Hills. That would be so good.
Yeah, but I mean, I think her interests lie more with like running a company, which is like so
Yeah, just
fair.
undermining everything that she's worked for.
I mean, she probably could. She'd be good at anything if she put her mind to. But yeah, so I really wanted to follow in her footsteps and like, do something that I was passionate about, but also that I had put a lot of effort into, if that makes sense. And
Mm,
so, whilst it wasn't like I want to start my own business, it was always, I want to do something that's hard and I want to do something that I have to struggle to like win. Um, and it looked like a couple of different things in high school. I really liked maths and science growing up. And so it was, for me, like the only two options were engineer or doctor, which I think like is slowly changing now, which is great. But like those two were my like ideal careers, I guess. Got to year 12, decided that I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. Um, and then engineering became the top of my list because I like the creativity of it, like the problem solving aspect. And then I heard about global challenges and I was like, that's even more interesting than an engineering degree. So ended up doing that. And a roundabout way of saying this is like, I did the entrepreneurship unit in uni, and that's where I really fell in love. It was like everything I wanted in terms of like something hard, something I have to struggle, something I can be passionate about. And it all just like clicked.
It's interesting that you use the word struggle. I grew up at a time in an environment where struggling was seen and hard work was the playbook actually of how you needed to live. And I've really changed my mind about that. Action is very important. But when you do something that you love, that you're meant to do, and that aligns with who you are, I believe that it isn't a struggle and it isn't something that's difficult, and that it really does come from more of a heart space than a mind space.
I think that's where the passion aspect comes in for me. It's like,
Mm.
if it's something I love, then I won't mind struggling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, or working hard for it, I suppose.
When I say struggle, I more mean I want to do something where I can throw my whole self into it.
Yeah.
Not like something that feels like a chore that I have to go do it and then I'm like only half committed. I want to commit fully to whatever it is.
Yeah. So it's not really about the struggle, it's more about the investment of passion and hard work, of doing something that you love, and being totally committed to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think part of the reason that the struggle appeals to me is I feel like it's really satisfying looking back and seeing how hard it was, but then you also did it. It's just a lot more gratifying in a way, knowing that
Yeah.
hard things.
What do you love about the entrepreneurial space?
It's the people. That's definitely my favorite part. So through NextGen, we meet so many amazing student founders, and I love hearing their stories. I love hearing what makes them tick. My favorite question to ask is it's similar to what you ask about your teenage years, like what did you do? What sort of led you on the path? And you hear the most interesting stories of these founders doing really rogue entrepreneurial things when they were younger, and it's just spiraled and now they're starting their own thing. I always find that super fascinating to hear about, and the energy that everyone brings as well. Like everyone's willing to learn. They'll always listen to what you have to say, but they're also super willing to impart wisdom and answer all the questions you have.
I agree. There's a creativity and a curiosity about the people that work in this industry, and you don't find that in very many places, actually.
You can't be not energized in this space. Just being surrounded by these people, it just motivates you to go do something as well.
I totally agree. It would have been amazing to have that when I was at uni. The expectation was you went and did a graduate program. I mean, I didn't. I went overseas and ended up in London for 10 years, but most of my marketing friends went on to work in corporate and start a graduate program and take that journey. So it's great what you're doing. And the more we can get students, particularly female students, into the entrepreneur space, the better everyone will be, actually, including the economy, because we're losing a lot of opportunities with female founders not pursuing their entrepreneurial dreams.
I agree. I think it's a shift we desperately need.
Yeah. What are the things we've talked about? What I'm building. So the startup, it was a playbook. I wrote it as a book. I think I told you, and it's now a platform. And it's got AI mentors and AI agents, and it's the right time for this kind of stuff. So when you think about educating the tween girl, what do you think about that?
I think it's great. In year nine, we had a Notre program, and it was one day a week. It wasn't normal classes. The part that I really enjoyed was a startup fair where you had to pick a problem you wanted to solve. They specifically said it had to be something about sustainability. And then you had to build a prototype, and the principal would come around and vote for her favorite product. And I really enjoyed that. My group put together, it was like putting a barcode on items of clothing so you can scan it and see its sustainability rating, which I think is now a
Oh, I love
thing.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the teachers there helped me download a no code app building software. And so we built an app that would scan these barcodes. And I think that what you're trying to do in terms of getting tween girls to build their own things, I don't believe that it has to be a fully functioning thing or something that could make a lot of money. I think it's more about, hey, you can actually do this. And you don't have to think that it's some big task that you just can't handle and then therefore you give up. I think looking back on my teenage years, there were a lot of times where I had ideas and I just gave up because I was like, that's too hard. I don't even know where to start. Who do I even talk to about that? And so
Yeah.
having those AI mentors that break it down into step by step, easy, manageable tasks, it would be so useful for your confidence, just knowing you can tackle something.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much in what you've just said. Yeah. So we didn't have that. We spent probably a day a week smoking cigarettes behind the oak tree at the back, and being more obsessed about our hairstyles. So I wish I'd had that growing up at school. It would have been amazing. I know that schools now introduced some of these programs, which is so good. The issue is they don't continue. So you build these amazing ideas and then they stop because you don't have that support. So for the girls that don't have that at school, they can build their ideas in the platform. But more importantly, if you have an idea, you bring it in and you can continue to grow and build that out with a community of other tween and then teenage and then young 20-year-old women,
Yeah.
we don't kick people out. once they come in, they stay with us. So, what we're building is this sort of ecosystem for female founders to continue to grow and learn and keep experimenting. The confidence thing is very important because the stats say that girls' confidence to start a business declines as she enters her teenage years and boys increases, and gets back to that bravado thing that we talk about and being worried about ourselves and society telling us that we need to look a certain way and laugh a certain way and feel a certain way. But um, to to have them in an environment where they can experiment like that is gold.
Yeah. I like your point about the continuing thing, which is something we're trying to do with Verge. But even in high school, like the program that I just talked about, it was very much like this is an assignment for school. You do it, you have the fair, the principal votes, and that's it. Like there was no continuation. There was no like any sort of inkling that this is something that you can take forward and like experiment with and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Even at uni, it's like that. You have these startup or entrepreneurial units, and you get graded, and then you get your final grade. It's better in uni where you can continue this compared to high school, but it's still framed as an assessment or assignment. And so
Yeah.
there's like motivation to keep going once you get that final grade. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's the continuation, if you are exposed to it, it's continuing. And for those that aren't exposed to it, it's just getting them moving.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important for women to start businesses and start young?
There's like, so much you can get out of it. Like, just the idea that confidence piece, like, you can start something and you can keep going. And unlocking that does so much for your self-confidence. The skills you learn as well, being scrappy, being able to pull things together, being able to experiment, pivot really fast and roll with the punches. Again, it's character building. And like you've mentioned, the economy as well. There's a stat of women tend to have higher returns on the investment. If we have more of those really high returners, like why would we not take that opportunity to be able to do that? So it's beneficial for the women themselves in terms of the skills they learn, the financial freedom they get from running their own business, and the happiness as well. But also society. Women tend to build in spaces that have social impact, whether that's like the environment or the community, and they also give back, funding other female founders. There's so much good that can come out of it.
There's also other stats that's actually GDP based. Let me just find it because I've got it here. So if women entrepreneurs had equal access to finances, their businesses could boost global GDP by 5 to 6 trillion US dollars and lift the world economy with jobs, innovation, and more diversified wealth. When we think about, it's not just a nice to have. The returns on our businesses are statistically higher. And Harvard did a study, and I don't know if you know Kevin O'Leary from the US Shark Tank. He did a study on his own portfolio and has found that his female founders are delivering a greater return as well. And he's a bit of a polarizing guy, right? Like, you wouldn't expect him to necessarily come out and say that, but it's the data within his portfolio. But it's also delivering greater innovation. And I think that's, so much evidence to help support female founders.
Yeah, it's like a crazy stat, like the amount that it increases like the GDP. But I also like don't find it that hard to believe, like based on the
No.
founders that I have met. Like it just makes so much sense. And like even just like population wise, like we're 50-50, like why not use the other half of like the population to also increase the GDP? Like it's a no-brainer in my head.
All right, last question, Mary. So, what would you now tell your 11-year-old self, looking back and thinking about business or money or life in general?
I would tell her to dream bigger. Looking back, my dreams weren't big enough. I don't know who said the quote, but if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And it's almost like everything I set myself was very achievable, and I'd want to dream bigger pretty much.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's so interesting because even building this platform, when I started, I have written a pitch deck for this. I am starting to have conversations with people. And I started with a sort of slower curve of growth. and a smaller ask for investment. And then I just thought to myself, what am I doing? This is a massive, fantastic solution that I can already see the girls love, all the girls that we've engaged with and whose parents have bought the MVP. You know, they're really enjoying this process. I'm just going to go bigger. So I've done that. I've ramped up the users and revenue. I've ramped up the investment ask. I've been playing too small and I'm going bigger.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I always have a tendency to like make my goals smaller so I can achieve them. But like there's nothing wrong with not achieving your goals, like as long as you try as much as you can. So
And
yeah.
who says you can't achieve those ones? That's the flip of what this is. Like it's the bravado to go bigger. And I say that to everyone I mentor, and I wasn't actually living by my own advice. So I am now.
Yeah, it's great. I think more people need to.
Mary, it's so nice to talk to you. And you're doing such great work with student founders and especially Verge. Let's keep talking and let's get this out to as many female founders as possible, particularly student female founders, to get in contact with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it.